We build businesses so we don't have to depend on nobody else. I want to make my own money, and you can't fire me when you get ready, okay?
Oh gosh, I feel so attacked.
I had been a cycle of self-sacrifice almost my entire life. So I knew who I was for other people. I did not know who I was for me. You don't get to this version without a radical self-honesty process that will have you in bed for a few days.
Or months.
Or months.
All of last year slowed me down so much. There's been times where I wondered if my ambition is gonna come back.
Many successful women are successful because they're running from something. Have you stopped and asked yourself, what am I running from? And what do I think I have to prove? Before I can become, I have to unbecome. I had to take off a lot of stuff before I could ever put on who I actually was. That's what you sign up for when you sign up for transformation.
The next speaker that I'm going to bring to the stage is someone who, this is the beautiful thing about being alive and in this purpose that each of us are in the age of social media, because if it weren't for social media, if it weren't for this woman having the courage to share her voice and her message, there were so many things I needed to hear that she got to be the deliverer of. Do any of you do that? I have my friend Aisha, I think, is in the back. And we have this term called the Holy Spirit algorithm. You know, sometimes I'll play a game with it and I'll be like, here's what I'm struggling with today. And I'll open up the app and sure enough, it's like the first thing I see speaks directly to what I was struggling with. Don't always use the Instagram algorithm as your Holy Spirit, but sometimes that's accurate. And I listened to her speak with such conviction and depth and honesty about things that I couldn't yet put words to. And I knew early on that she had to be here. She leads with heart and purpose. She's a transformational speaker. She is the founder and creator of Heart Talks. And I would love for you to get on your feet and help me welcome to the Powerhouse Women's stage, Miss Brittainy Noel.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great.
I love listening to you in the back.
Thank you. Isn't her voice just like butter? I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here. You have a beautiful tribe. You do.
Yeah.
I always say tribes reflect the heart of the leader. So I can always tell when I go into different environments, when I see their tribe, I know who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
So you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you. You know, I was preparing for today, and so I have, like, for the panels later, I always have a little something prepared just in case I need help getting the conversation started. And when we connected, you know, we kind of just had this mutual agreement to meet you all where you're at based on how this morning unfolded. But before we do that, I really want to start with you, because this is a room full of women who know they're meant for more. They know there's a purpose for them to live out on this planet. And I look at you as someone who it would be so easy to see the Instagram version. And this, I told her, I was like, I usually give the speakers this, here's just something you should know. You can really go full send with your outfit, but she's always dressed impeccably. So you understood the assignment. I knew you'd fit right in.
Thank you.
But it would be easy to look at these versions of us and think, she's never struggled.
Very easy. And I think a lot of people make that assumption as well, because I'll get the messages like, hey, you're my motivation. How can I get there? How can I be there? And I send them to my book. Because in my first book is where I wrote the story about when I was the woman who was confused. It starts off telling the story about how I was ending a 6-year relationship where I had completely abandoned myself. Anybody ever abandon themselves for somebody else? Yeah. So the book is about who I had to become in order to overcome that. And transformation is not a pretty process. So as much as you guys see the made up versions of us, every time I see women who have gone through the fire, I always think about the journey that it takes to take that walk. And it's not an easy one. So when I introduce people to me, I always let them know that what you're looking at is not even a completed process, because I'm still in transformation, but you're definitely looking at what I say is my first testimony to who I had to become, from being a young girl that was hyper independent, did not know how to rely on other people, did not trust relying on other people, who didn't know her own voice, who definitely didn't know her own power. And the journey that it took for me to believe in myself, set boundaries appropriately, but most importantly, be honest about who I was and why I was where I was. Because you don't get to this version without a radical self-honesty process that will have you in bed for a few days.
Or months.
Or months. Because we get through transformation by being honest about the part we played in our own destruction. Oh, God. See, they always tell me to say it again, and I don't know what I said the first time.
That's why we have it recorded. Yeah.
But I say we have to be honest about the part we played in our own self-destruction. The thing about the destruction process is that most times it was necessary. Because who I was at that time in my life was completely built off of defense mechanisms. I had grown up the middle child of a single mother. So before I had an identity, I was told who I was supposed to be. And what do you think that was? A helper, a fixer. I had to save everyone around me. And so even as I was in school to be a therapist, and I'm going in it with, I'm a saving everybody attitude, all of it was built off of a trauma response. So the destruction process, the reason why it is what it is because before I can become, I have to unbecome. And I had to unlearn all of the unhealthy labels. I had to unlearn the perspectives that I had of the world that had me limited. I had to take off a lot of stuff before I could ever put on who I actually was. And that's what you sign up for when you sign up for transformation.
There was a powerful piece of content you just published along this theme of, and you may not even realize the correlation, but I clicked on it because the text on the screen said identity upgrade. And I was like, is she talking about what I think she's talking about?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And what you were sharing and interacting with the most beautiful woman who was sitting with the question of who am I? Take me to that moment that you had stripped away and realized all the labels you had adopted, accepted. And was there a moment where, because I had this moment of, I don't know. Yeah. I actually don't know who I am.
100%. The exact moment, I write about it beautifully in the book because I talk about how I had left the relationship. Okay, now you had somewhere to go. I didn't have anywhere to go. So I called a coworker of mine and I was in my early 20s and she said, sure, you can come over to my house. You can stay with me because I was cohabitating. Don't shack up, y'all. Keep your own space, okay? Because I packed up and I went to her house and she was a beautiful soul, beautiful, lovely woman. But this house was the most roach-infested house I had ever been in my life. And I don't do creepy crawlies, right?
No, ma'am. No,
if it crawls, I got to move out, period.
Unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe. And I walk in the house and it's like roaches everywhere. But I was so broken. I walked in and was like, what's up? I don't even care. Like, what else could happen to me at this point? And just defeated, right? And I'm sitting on her couch and it was probably a period of 2 weeks that I was going through so many emotions and waves of just anger and grief and sadness. And I'm trying to understand how I got here. And one day I got up to go into the restroom. I look in the mirror and it was like I was hit by a ton of bricks because I'm looking at myself for the first time in a long time. And I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, I don't know who this chick is. Like, I couldn't tell you anything beyond what my name was. But I'm looking in this mirror and I don't know what she's angry about. I don't know her identity. And I stood in that mirror and I kept saying, I don't know who I am. Because mind you, I had been in a cycle of self-sacrifice almost my entire life. If I wasn't saving my family, then I went into saving in my relationships. Mm-hmm. So I knew who I was for other people. I did not know who I was for me. Mm. And so I stood in that mirror. And I always tell people that before I knew who I was, I first went to God. And I said, God, I need you to tell me who I am. Because I'm looking in this mirror and I have no idea who this person is staring back at me. So I need you to tell me, who am I? Mm. And I always say that that is something that he has continued to answer time and time again. It's never just one answer that you get. But over time, he keeps revealing to you small pieces of who you are. Every year, I find something new about myself that I fall in love with. Every heartbreak, I uncover something else about myself that I didn't know. Yeah. And I slowly started falling in love with the new pieces of Brittainy that I was finding. And some of those pieces were there since birth, and I was watering them down so that other people felt comfortable around me. Yeah. And some of those pieces I had to grow into and cultivate. But they're all there waiting for you. Mm-hmm. And so the love of self is cultivated by first getting curious. Who am I? And don't run away from the question. Mm. Because in that same video, there's a lot of comments and people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know who I am. Mm. And some people are even offended by the question. But if I can't be honest with me about who I am, how do I think I'm going to navigate this world? You should be able to face yourself, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, and be totally honest about who you are and who you're not. Mm. Make sense?
So this is obviously a room full of really ambitious women. And what I didn't realize, there was some good in this, but I had to start to unpack how much of what I had built was built from my trauma responses. And it was part of why I think I felt blocked to be able to go bigger, because especially I'll share my version of it was feeling so tied into people's experience, not being able to stand on stage and say like, let it trigger you. I was like, please don't be triggered. Is everybody happy with me? But how could I ever hold space for more if I'm carrying the weight that I have to be personally responsible for everyone's experience? So I'd love for you to speak to, those of us who might come to a realization that parts of what we have to let go of made us really successful, made us who we are.
Absolutely. I love that. And everybody will get to that point if you're doing the work. Yeah. At some point, you definitely get to that point where you realize that the drive and the motivation I have was based off of survival. Mm-hmm. That many of the projects that I picked up wasn't because I loved them, but it was because it was a means to an end and I was trying to survive. And I had to stay busy. Mm-hmm. Because if I slow down, now I have questions about me and my life. Yeah. And I'm not ready for those questions.
No, thank you.
So busy becomes a trauma response. Mm-hmm. Success becomes a trauma response because I need the validation of what I built because I don't have my own validation just yet. And this is why in business, when things don't work in your business, you feel like a failure. Mm-hmm. Because you haven't separated who you are versus what you do. Mm. Those are two separate things. I can create something that completely flops and know I'm still brilliant. Mm-hmm. This was just a piece of the process, right? Mm. Many times you have to start questioning your motives for why you build what you build. Mm. Question the motive around, why is this so important to me? What am I really trying to prove? What do I really hope to achieve here? Always be in the habit of examining why I show up the way that I show up. And most importantly, look at how you react and respond when things don't go your way. Mm. Do you take it personal when things break down in your business? Okay? That customer was mad at the process. They weren't mad at you. You could let that go. Mm-hmm. But when I can't separate the two, it means that somewhere I've wrapped up meaning that may or may not be true. I think that in any therapy session, we will always go to childhood. Most of your defense mechanisms, your trauma responses are going to be ingrained by the time you turn 12. Mm-hmm. So between 0 and 12, what was implanted in you, or sometimes what did you inherit, that is showing up in how you run your life? Many successful women are successful because they're running from something. Have you stopped and asked yourself, what am I running from? And what do I think I have to prove? That's where you'll find whether or not what you're building is something genuinely and authentically who I am, or is this a response to what I am hoping not to be?
You know what the hand tap is, right? You saw that back there?
Yes.
Yeah, that means they felt that.
Good.
Sometimes I forget to tell the speakers about that, and they're like, someone was waving at me in the audience the whole time. It was so lovely.
I love it. I love it.
So we wanted to make this a bit interactive because we can sit up here and I can obviously share stories from my own personal journey and have Brittainy speak to them. But I think the most effective way to unlock what's going to keep gnawing at you is to have a few people share where they currently feel they're bumping up against their own next breakthrough. You do these really powerful events called Heart Talks.
I do.
Is there a specific prompt that you love to give when you open it up for interaction? I'll let you decide how you want to set the question up. And then we have volunteers ready with microphones to give you your moment to share. And this could not be a safer space to just share what's on your heart.
Absolutely. I tell my tribe, they know me by now. My tagline is real, raw, and relatable. So if you haven't learned yet, truth can be disruptive.
Yeah.
And my tribe is used to me just throwing out truth and they just suck it in, right? But y'all are just now meeting me for the first time. So I will preface this with saying that, first of all, I've been a therapist for over 10 years. I've started my career working in MD Anderson and end of life, and then eventually I went into treating PTSD and combat trauma. There's nothing that you can tell me that will shock me. I promise you, there is nothing you can tell me that is going to have me clutching my pearls. And there's nothing that you can tell me that I will judge you for, because luckily I'm a woman who has lived a lot of lives. And I've made just as many mistakes as I can give you answers for. So with that, I always say, you guys have to give me permission to access your hearts. This conversation can be as real as you allow it to be. I can only help you with what you give me. So I give you guys permission to raise your hand and ask a question that is heart-centered, and it allows you to come out of hiding. So the question that I will give you in this season of your life, what is it that you're struggling to heal today? And that's where we'll start. Sound good? So I see a hand over here on my left.
Hi, my name is Tanu. I am here from California. So up until last year, I was just feeling this blue flame inside me that I need to do something else. I need to give back, and I need to have a better impact. And I couldn't have imagined that I'll have my own coaching business this year, and already like clients that I'm coaching. But as I go forward with this, I feel like I don't have the fear of failure. I have the fear of succeeding. And it feels like there's opportunities coming my way. And you know how you ring the bell and you run away before the door opens? That's how I feel like, because I feel like I shrink every time there's a new opportunity that comes my way, rather than really going for it and jumping into it. So could you speak to how, like, if you ever had this fear of succeeding and how you handled it?
Yeah. So the fear of success typically pinpoints to accepting. It's not really the fear of being success, because I always say, I'm not afraid of $1 million. Send it my way. Okay, I'm not running from it, okay? but there's responsibility that comes with $1 million. Most importantly, if I accept this new opportunity, I have to also accept the new perception of who I am along with it. And this is most likely why we shrink and we run, because when we get handed new opportunities, I am now put in a seat to upgrade how I see myself. And if you don't upgrade your identity as you are growing, you will be seeing yourself as something that you are no longer as. And so when the opportunities show up, you question them instead of run to them. So the goal here is first, run towards the opportunity, but just know that I'm going to have to prove myself to me. I am that girl. The opportunity is showing you it's here because I'm ready, number one. Opportunities show up because you're ready, not because you're not ready. And if it's here, I'm going to prove to myself that I am the person I've been working to become by showing up, handling it responsibly, becoming who I need to become to keep it and nurture it. But this is a season where if you don't run towards it, this is where people will say, oh, well, I have imposter syndrome, right? Imposter syndrome is nothing more than you operating in a space that you haven't given yourself permission to accept that that's who I am. Do I really believe that I am who I am? Right? When I was getting ready to accept bigger platforms and bigger stages, and I would always say, I'm just Brittainy. I'm just Brittainy. And my best friend in the back, she'll say, but the world doesn't see you that way. Yeah. So I need you to see yourself the way the world sees you. Yeah. You are that girl. You are that chick. You are qualified. Yes. So look for evidence that I'm qualified instead of evidence as far as why I would be disqualified. Make sense?
Thank you.
Love it.
My name is Corey. I met Lindsay last week and found the Powerhouse community. And so I am here for a major reason in my life because I'm going through a transformation that's currently in a process of grief that I didn't really know that was why I was feeling the way I was feeling. I'm a busy mom of 3 in a transformation of schools, high schoolers now, different times in our lives. What I struggle with right now and that I'm hoping for are maybe a tool, an easy tool, because I don't do a lot for myself, but a tool to manage celebrations and making sure I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be and celebrating that. So making sure that I know that I did a good job today and that the wins, right? Because there's a lot of them. And I know that, but then that's not a priority. It's like, what's next? How do you celebrate those wins and remind yourself in that stillness that you're where you're supposed to be and that you're doing a good job?
Very good. Have you celebrated being here yet?
Yeah, of course, I got a tattoo this morning.
That's how we roll.
I love it. Okay.
I got a little rose.
I love it.
Right here. My daughter's name is Bradley Rose, so we got a little rose to celebrate the transformation and the journey.
Very good.
Yeah.
I love that. You said a few things, right? But I think when we talk about a tool to celebrate the wins, it starts with self-awareness and self-acknowledgement, right? Most times, the reason why we don't celebrate wins is because we give the wins less weight than we do the losses. So the losses, we give all of our attention to, all of our energy to, and we dwell on it. How could it have been different? I should have said this. I should have done that. But then when we have a good thing happen, we're like, it just happened. It was a coincidence. I got lucky, right? And so we minimize the win, and then we amplify the loss. And that's why it's hard for us to acknowledge when we are winning, even amidst the losses. I would encourage you, the simple tool every day is to find 3 things that I'm winning at today. If I got out of bed on time, that's a win. If I handled a difficult conversation well, that's a win. If I combed my hair today, that's a win, right? So it starts with just acknowledging the small things, and eventually you start to live in a life that is gratitude-centered, right? The key to acknowledging my process and where I've been and how much I've grown is to be grateful for where I am today, even if it's only this much progress. And I always tell my clients, we have to stop waiting for the big things to acknowledge when something's good, right? If I walk outside and it's a clear day outside, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I get excited about, simple things. Because it could have been raining. It could have been a horrible day today, but look at the sun today. Sitting in a place of gratitude helps me combat everything that I think is wrong with my world. And now my perspective is primed to look for what's going right instead of what's going wrong. Make sense? All right.
Good.
Hi, I'm Samara Beth Hurley. I live in Scottsdale. And when you sent out the text about the auditions for speaking, I knew I should be auditioning. I knew that I should take the time to do it. I know that I need to be getting on the stages more, but for 30 years as an event producer, I was in all black behind stage, making sure everything was perfect for everyone else. And I feel like now is my time. However, my 15-year-old daughter, I'm a single mother after a 22-year marriage with a very traumatic divorce. And as a single mother to a 21-year-old and a 15-year-old, I feel like I have to be there for my daughter more than anything for the next 3 years as she's finishing up high school. And now, even though I'm running 4 businesses, I hid behind my daughter and did an impromptu road trip to LA instead of auditioning to be on stage. The biggest fear that I have is my learning disability I've had my whole life, where I have a hard time memorizing. And so I struggle because I step on stages, I do the Great American Speak Off and all these things. And when I get up there, that stage fright is really not the fright of being on stage. It's the fear that the child that forgot the words to easy songs in performing arts camp for 7 summers and was always in the chorus because she couldn't remember the words when she got up on stage. But I do know the words. It's not stage fright. I'm not nervous to speak in front of people. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, my dress ripped and your team has safety pinned my entire arm sleeve. And then I poured my mimosa accidentally all over the other sleeve. So now I'm a combination of Chanel and mimosa. So I smell divine. So make sure that you guys all come and smell me.
Let me pause. Can I pause?
I would love for you to help me.
Yeah.
Help you help me. That's what I need.
Yeah, I was going to pause you because you have what we call a script. Everything you said was self-deprecating and self-depreciating.
Yep.
And this is why you don't show up, right? There could be a million different fears that we have as far as a fear of speaking, a fear of being perceived a certain way. And we all have our own fears, right? 20, 30,000 different things could have gone wrong today before we step on the stage. But the script that you play out in your head, it is so ingrained in why you are inadequate. Your daughter is a buffer. You use your daughter as excuses to not show up in your life, but the truth is that you live your life according to a script of who you're not, and you have a deep fear of rejection. That's why you didn't show up, right? And the rejection probably happened in childhood, but now you became an adult running from a rejection, which means your whole life you have stayed in situations that were safe. Not because you actually wanted to be there, but because I would rather not get hurt or disappointed. And so you have a theme in your life where you have underperformed and you have not shown up well and you have done less than what you were capable of. But it's not the child. It's not the competition that happened when you were a kid. You do not allow yourself to show up in your life with all of your full colors and accept the consequences of your colors. Will showing up as my full self get me rejection? Absolutely. But it will also get me connected to my tribe. So your story, the way you describe yourself, even in a safe place, right? But you describe yourself so harshly. You had nothing positive to say about yourself. That is the problem. So I would tell you to first start rehearsing a new story, because even in the midst of all my hardships, I became something amazing because of it. So I have to figure out, who am I despite what my background was, who raised me, who dropped me, the divorce, all of that was horrible and it sucked and we hated it. But who did you become because of it? And if you can't find the phoenix that rose from all of that destruction, you will never step on stage.
Can I have the Kleenexes that came on the chair, please? We got you.
I am Whitney, the Water Queen from LA. I have been an entrepreneur since 2012, and I built my whole entrepreneurship on fight or flight, opening up a brick and mortar immediately after losing my dad. And so it put me on this perpetual cycle that I really didn't realize until a year and a half ago. And I lost my best friend, who was my business bestie, 3 years ago. And so I've always had this tight grip, and everything's been really hard. And I've always just been like, it's just around the corner. The hedonic treadmill of like, I'm gonna make it, I'm just around the corner. And gripping it so tight. And realizing this, and realizing how to just hold my hand and let the bird come on to my hand and let life unfold without trying so hard or making it so hard. I feel like Dumb and Dumber, where he's like, pretty bird. So I'm learning how to, trying to be more easeful. And I guess that's my question is like, you know, one of my mentors, she's like, you are that bitch. Like, you are her. What are you talking about? Like, around the corner.
Yeah.
And being worthy.
Yeah. Thank you for that. There's a conversation that I lead in my tribe where we talk about the switch from living in survival versus living in thriving, right? When I'm in survival, most of the businesses, especially for women, we build businesses so we don't have to depend on nobody else. I want to make my own money, and you can't fire me when you get ready, okay?
Oh gosh, I feel so attacked.
Right? So we built these businesses out of survival, and we're really good at it because we're great at multitasking, and we're smart and we're brilliant. And so we can get good at building a business that is operating and it's functioning. But what happens when I'm in a place in my life where things are settled and there's no longer anything for me to fight or run from? My body, my mind, and my emotions will still be in fight or flight, even though I'm in a place in my life where things are pretty good now. Right? And so what happens is that if I'm not aware of it, my mind, my body, everything is still in fight or flight, which now means I will start looking for devastation. I will start looking, we become hypervigilant. Where is the next threat gonna come from? And so you can't even be settled in the good place, right? What has to happen is the shift from what I call it, my gladiator season, okay? My gladiator was good, okay? She kept me protected. She helped me survive some very tough seasons. She was not emotionally available. She was going to cut down any and everything. If you looked at me the wrong way, we had a problem, okay? My gladiator, I didn't bother nobody, but if you bothered me, you was gonna wish you didn't on that day. We should have just left her alone. That's what my gladiator did. So my gladiator protected me. Before I learned boundaries, I had a gladiator that stood up for me. Right? And so once I got into a place where everything was settled, I realized that my gladiator now became destructive because she was chopping down things that didn't need to be chopped down. I was losing friendships with some amazing people. I was losing opportunities because I couldn't be settled. So then you have to shift into what I call the divine feminine. The major difference in what you're describing is divine feminine is the way in which I learned how to be in my life. Gladiator is all about doing. It always has to have something to do. What's the next project? What's the next thing? And so I'm never settled, and I'm building and I'm building, and I'm not grieving. I'm not feeling. I'm not expressing. It's doing. My divine feminine is about being. This is where I got back in touch with my heart. This is where I got back in touch with how to feel again. I always describe it as I learned how to breathe again. Because in the gladiator, you don't even realize how shallow your breaths are. But in the divine feminine, you're taking deep breaths. and your life feels, you start to feel in color all over again. But in the being energy is where I allow myself to embrace everything going on around me. You feel a lot more emotions, which can be overwhelming. You got to learn some coping skills with that.
Yeah.
But I have a full expression, a full range of emotional expression that allows me to show up in my life fully. And I'm not on this hamster wheel of trying to figure out what's next, right? And even to this day, I have to always remind myself, Brittainy, breathe, right? I went on vacation a few months ago and I'm on the beach and it was so funny. I did everything I always do. I go sit on the beach and I get quiet and I get still and I start talking to God and I'm like, okay, God, what's next? What do you want me to do next? And in my spirit, I heard, Brittainy, there's nothing for you to do. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to do in this world. For the first time in my life, I have no doubt that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. My only job is to be present. Respond to what's happening in my today. Tomorrow will be there. But you don't have to make tomorrow happen. You have permission to be settled in my today and to feel the goodness that comes with today and the rest that comes with today. Giving myself permission to just rest and be at ease is the biggest blessing you will ever give yourself. So allow yourself to take deeper breaths. Slow down. I used to walk really fast. I used to pace walk everywhere. And I was like, why are you walking so fast? Ease is the opposite of survival. So when you find yourself in that rush and you're in a hurry to get nowhere, slow down. Take a breath. And know that tomorrow will be there waiting on you. And good things are waiting in tomorrow. So allow yourself to take your time getting there. Make sense?
That has been the hardest part of adjusting to this new pace that I found. I feel like all of last year slowed me down so much that there's been times where I wondered if my ambition is going to come back. And I don't know if it's going to ever come back in the way it was, because that isn't what I'm meant to return to. But
it'll look different.
And I think the multitasking, like I used to be able to get so much more done because I wasn't present in my life, in my experience. And I've really had to accept that it does look a lot different, but it also feels different. I feel the most present and the most grounded I've ever felt in this room. I'm not thinking about all the other things that need to happen. I'm just in this experience in a way. And so for Whitney, for anyone else who really felt that, it is terrifying to a part of us to slow down, to scale back, to start walking slower, driving slower, putting my makeup on slower, being more present. But I feel so much more of the joy.
Yes. It was a shift for me when I would realize I would wake up and my first immediate thought in the morning was, I love my life. Whereas before it was, what do I need to do today? Right? Because I stopped building a life that was about serving. I stopped building a life that was about getting stuff done. And I asked myself, Brittainy, how do you want your life to feel? Not what you want to do or accomplish. What do you want your life to feel like? And I'm telling you, that came after a season of burnout. Anybody ever been through burnout? When I realized how expensive it was to be burnt out. You lose a lot of money when you burnt out. You lose a lot of opportunities. You lose a lot of people. Being burnt out and operating from a place of being burnt out is one of the most self-defeating and depressing times that you will experience in your life. But the truth about burnout is that I was living a life with no boundaries. I believed the lie that I could be all things. I'm a lot of things for a lot of people, and I also know I'm a lot of things that I will never be for a lot of people, and I'm okay with that. I learned how to say no and stand on my no. I learned that when I give you my yes, it's because I genuinely, authentically want to be there. And I'm telling you, I stopped saying yes to stuff. If I even felt a minute of, I was like, no, I can't do it. Can't be there. It's expensive to give people your yes when you really don't want to do it. So now I can wake up and I feel like I'm happy for today versus dreading what today is going to be.
These questions have been so potent and just spoke to so many of the different experiences. I resonated with every single one. So as we start to wrap this up, I would love just for you to speak to those women who are either going to soon start to have some of this awareness and be with the weight of coming home to yourself. What would you share for those who are in the journey in the middle or about to embark on the most beautiful transformation process that they've ever experienced?
Do you mind if I stand?
I would love if you would.
Okay. I want to give you guys an invitation. At the end of my tour, I've been on tour since March with the Heart Talks tour. And at the end of every session, I give my tribe an invitation. In every city, in every room, I can never predict what the invitation has to be because I don't plan it. I go solely off of what I feel is happening in the room. So the invitation that I want to give you guys today is solely voluntary. And it will be individualized for each of you. And it's intentional, meaning that you have to give a yes to your own invitation. The invitation that I want to give this room today is the invitation to step into the spotlight. And when I say spotlight, I'm not necessarily meaning on a stage or on a platform, but I'm giving you guys the invitation to become the main character in your lives. When I became the main character in my life, I stopped asking for permission. I had this habit of always apologizing for taking up space. And if I said something or did something, I would say, I'm sorry. And it dawned on me one day, Brittainy, why are you apologizing for existing? Because in my childhood, I was taught not to be a burden. And so as an adult, I became an adult, always trying to cram myself into spaces so that I didn't bother anybody. So when I accepted the invitation to step into the spotlight, it meant that, Brittainy, you're gonna make people uncomfortable. It meant that people will not be okay with you owning all that you are. It meant that I was gonna have to find a tribe of people that could accept all of my colors. The biggest thing about stepping into the spotlight is I grieved the version of Brittainy that liked to be in the background. Because being in the background was safe. Being in the background meant that I can continue to make my life about everybody else. And I was so good at taking care of everybody else. It became uncomfortable when I finally said, I'm allowed to ask for something too. I want you guys to know that you're allowed to ask for something back for all of your goodness. You're allowed to ask for something back and not worry about whether or not you're a burden. You're allowed to have people around you that you can lean on without feeling like it's too much or you're too much. The invitation that I want to offer to you guys is to show up in your life as someone who is worthy of and deserving of everything that you give to everybody else. You're not a supporting actress in your own life. If there were cameras following you around every day, what would they see? When I asked myself that question, I was held accountable that, Brittainy, you've only been living your life on 30%. What would happen if you really gave it 50? What would happen if you gave it 80? What would happen if you gave it 100 and allowed people to talk about you? When I stopped caring about how people perceived me, is when I got freedom. So today, your invitation is to come into the light where people can really see you, and they can see your gifts, and they can see your talents. And you have needs here that need to be met, and that's okay. I spent most of my life trying to be easy to love. It was so freeing when I realized I'm not easy to love, and I'm not supposed to be that way. And I gave myself permission to be all that I am. Now, an invitation is not an invitation unless you accept. So, if you accept your invitation today, let me get a I do. I do. Did that sound good to you?
No, that was about 30%.
I know, I didn't hear everybody. Okay, all right, we're gonna try that again. If you accept your invitation to come into the light today, say, I do. This time, I want you to speak to the small little person in you, that little child, that inner child that is afraid to come to the light. When you give your yes today, give your yes knowing that you will protect them when you come into the light. So if you're coming into the light, say, I do. I do. Very good. Thank you guys today.
You're magic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.